Hello and welcome to the Life of Learning podcast. I'm Eustace Frank, and today's going to be a slightly different podcast. I have some exciting news to share. So back on Valentine's Day, my girlfriend and I, with a few other friends, were doing a bit of a hike in the Southern Alps. And the day before, we had climbed up to Goats Pass Hut. And we stayed the night, and then on Valentine's Day, we were walking down the river and back to the car. The scenery was beautiful and the conversation was engaging. Waterfalls could be seen tumbling into the valley, and it really was a beautiful day. It was a great day to be alive. My girlfriend stopped ahead of me and turned around to say something, and I leaned in for a kiss and gave her a smile and then asked, "Will you marry me?" And she replied that she absolutely would. And so we were engaged. And feeling rather happy, we splashed off down the river holding hands. So yeah, it was a really, really neat memory. And it was very special to ask her that question right there, surrounded by all that beauty. Valentine's Day was a few weeks ago now. And we've slowly been letting people know, as there were a few conversations that we both felt should happen before we went public with the announcement. And this is partly also in the reactions that we did get. And yeah, the fact is that there have been quite mixed reactions to our engagement. And this is mainly because Rachael, my fiance, is a Christian. And although I was a Christian for much of my life, it's changed over the past few years, to the point now where I no longer call myself a Christian, or do I believe that Christianity is true, but I do still have some interest in the whole topic, and my overall reaction towards God and Christianity is generally not one of animosity. But this podcast is not going to be about discussing religious ideas, but rather I want to explore the issue of what to do when you meet someone and you have large differences in your ideas. Can these two people get along? And my fiance and I have found the answer to that to be yes. Now, of course, yes, thoughts and ideas are certainly important because they shape our actions, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, when two people meet, it's going to be their actions towards each other that are going to be really important. And I made this point in a recent article of mine titled The Art of Principled Negotiation, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. Go check it out. If I do say so myself, it's quite a good article. And I said there, we must remember that conflicts and disputes are not things to be feared. Most of the harmful effects on relationships from conflicts occur when these conflicts remain unresolved. And yet, if we work together to solve a conflict and find a better outcome for all, we end up building relationships that are closer and deeper than any we could have had without the initial conflict. So, it's an interesting thing that I kind of wrote there. And what do I mean by unresolved? I mean, what does it mean when I said when these conflicts remain unresolved? I mean disputes where the conversation has stopped, where people have dug themselves so deeply into their position that they become uninterested in understanding the other person. To bring up a certain topic risks a show of aggression, of aggressive anger or passive aggressive anger as well. Essentially, it's when a topic becomes taboo. And the problem is that when a topic becomes taboo, it soon becomes apparent that all other topics related to that topic also become taboo. And then even more topics become taboo, and so on and so on. And then eventually people get to this point where they struggle to actually talk about anything meaningful. Unfortunately though, it's the most meaningful topics that will go first when taboo subjects start happening in a relationship. So those topics which are most meaningful to us are usually also the topics in which we are the most vulnerable. They're meaningful to us because they have to do with the deepest parts of who we are. Often our deepest fears, our deepest worries, concerns. And when we reveal this to another person, when we reveal this vulnerable part, if the other person's response is one of attack, we quickly retreat and we learn to not reveal that part of ourselves again so quickly. So when someone is vulnerable with you, this does not mean that we need to agree with their position. I'm not saying that. But we should seek to understand their position. And this is particularly true if the person being vulnerable is someone that we deeply admire and respect. Our response should be one of, if I really respect this person, then I should also be willing to really listen to their reasons for why they believe what they believe. And this makes sense. We are less likely to listen to someone whose actions we don't respect. But if we do respect how they live their life, then we should be curious enough to investigate the worldview and ideas behind their actions. And this is one of the main reasons why I love this relationship that I'm in with Rachael, and why I love Rachael. Disagreements can be resolved over time, but that's only the case, actually, if our actions in the current moment include conversations where you're really taking the time to seek to understand each other. So when I share my thoughts with Rachael, she takes them seriously. She doesn't insult me, nor does she react in a passive-aggressive manner. She also doesn't jump to agree with me, but rather she seeks to understand what I'm trying to communicate. And so, as I said, disagreements will be resolved over time, and we can't stress about that. As people grow closer together, their disagreements about things will eventually lessen. But what we should be focusing on is the process, rather than getting fixated on trying to move someone to a certain goal, to try and quickly fix the disagreement. We need to learn to enjoy the process of getting to know someone more deeply and allow their thoughts to challenge our thinking, rather than focusing on getting them to a specific destination. We quickly become aware of when someone's interested in us simply for the sake of fixing us, and the difference when someone is interested in us because they believe a relationship with us will bring value into their lives. We want to know that we are valuable in someone else's life, that the things we say are meaningful to them. But we need to realize that that goes both ways. We need to treat what the other person has to say as valuable, even if our initial reaction may be to say that they are wrong. Because maybe they are wrong, but then again, maybe so are we. Maybe both of us are wrong. So what am I trying to say in all of this? Well, firstly, that I am very happy that I have a fiance, that I can have these types of conversations with, these conversations over our disagreements with, and they're really great and interesting conversations. And so it goes kind of without saying, but I think that Rachael is pretty awesome. My second point is that when you are in a relationship, try not to focus too much on your disagreements. Rather focus and consider how you interact when you are in a disagreement. Because from my own experience, I think I can guarantee you that your love for each other will grow stronger when you find someone with whom you can discuss any disagreement with in an understanding manner, more so than finding someone who you think doesn't have any disagreements with you. And I know I've applied this basically to what eventually will be a marriage relationship. But this not only applies to marriages, it also applies to friendships and also to relationships with children as well. So go out there, don't fear the disagreements. Enjoy getting to know the other person. Enjoy getting to understand them. And find people who you respect and you can have these conversations with. So that's my news for today. And I'm feeling pretty excited about it. So it's a good day to be alive. And we'll see what comes of all of this in the future. But it's good. Life is good. All right. Cheers. Hey, thanks. Bye.